Well, hello there and welcome back to this F1 2020 My Team Career Mode as we now begin our second season bringing the Minardi team back into F1 after a very successful first year campaign. If you watch the previous episode, that will be the end of season 1 and then building towards the beginning of season 2. A lot happened and a lot hopefully will happen as the season goes on. Nyck de Vries has re-signed and he'll be with us for the first half of this season, and to be honest, we're going to be continuing his development, so we might as well keep him around for quite a while. Anyway, the workstation then. So FP1, a bit overcast with some sun. FP2, nice and sunny. FP3 is going to be wet, which is a shame, but qualifying and a race is going to be nice and sunny. Messages then. At the start of the season, weekend preview about Australia, the weather forecast, you can see a little bit of cloud comes in halfway through the race, but it is going to remain dry. We do have a high cash balance as well, but we're not particularly interested in that at the moment. So I'm going to claim level 12, just into level 12. You can see the new team kit there with our matching livery. As for rivalry, but I was just about to say, we don't have one yet, but I'm sure we'll pick up one in the next couple of episodes. As for our driver detail, 32 points. We ended season 1, average finish of 13th, average good of 16th. Hopefully we can improve that into season number 2. The performance then, so as it stands, nothing's changed since the end of the last episode, but we're working away now on getting the Spec 2 upgrades done, or Spec 1 I should say, upgrades done on the durability department. All of the upgrades that do come in have now come in. As for powertrain, we'll be looking to do some work on that as well. We've had a couple of major upgrades already from Mercedes, who are our new engine supplier this year, and we'll probably carry them going forward for each year going on because they are the best engine. You might as well get the best units if you can afford it. Why not? So we are Minardi Mercedes, which they never used to do. Minardi used to run customer Ford engines, and sometimes these engines were doing about 2 or 3 years old. They did sign with Asiatech in 2002, basically because Asiatech, their contract with Arrows ended at the end of 2001, and Asiatech said, if any team out there wants our engines, we'll give them to you for free. And Minardi said, yes, we'll have some of that, because Minardi always were a very cash-strapped team. So a lot of performance needs to be done on the powertrain department this season. Same for the aerodynamic department as well. We're just ahead of Williams in that. Chassis vote, we had a major upgrade in the off-season, the engine cover, and we had a minor upgrade from the heave dampers, so we're sort of comfortable there in the midfield with the chassis department. Durability, we are the best in that, which is nice to see. Nothing in progress, and the progress history, again, nothing that's happened since the end of the last episode. Red Bull have caught up to Mercedes, bit of a big gap now between Red Bull and Ferrari, and then behind them we've got Renault and AlphaTauri very close together. McLaren and Racing Point are pretty much level. Alfa Romeo just a little bit behind them. Then there's a gap to us. We've managed to overtake Haas, but very, very marginally, and then there's a bigger gap back to Williams. As for our units, everything is brand new for season number 1, which is nice to see. Everything nice at 0% for both practice, event, gearbox, weekend tyre allocation. We've gone for the softest available to us. We've got 2 sets of medium tyres to use, and then 4 sets of soft tyres. We probably won't run in FP3, unfortunately, due to the fact it's going to be heavy rain, and there's no sign of rain in either qualifying or the race. So we've up against it a little bit. We've got to get the practice programs done in both FP1 and FP2. Standings then, well, we start the season in 14th, that's where we finished. Same for the team in 8th. Season results, nothing to talk about. There's season 1, this is now season 2, and no trophies yet on the board for this current season. So I'll go away, do FP1 off camera. I might show a little bit of footage from FP2 because we won't be running in FP3. So I'll give you an update at the end of the session, and hopefully some good news to report over our increased pace. So a pretty good FP1 at Australia. You can see that we're in P11. Nyck de Vries now up into P14. So it looks like the pre-season gains. We didn't make too much. There was a minor and a major upgrade on the chassis department. It certainly helped a little bit. We're well inside the midfield. Most cars were on the medium tyres as well. So it's Mercedes 1-2, Red Bull 3-4, Ferrari 5-6. And obviously Red Bull are going to be a little bit closer to Mercedes now and pulling a little bit away from Ferrari. We've got Ricciardo at home in 7th place, Stroll, Kvyat, Gasly, and then ourselves in 11th. The practice programs we did, we managed to do purple on the track acclimatisation and the race strategy. And we only managed to get green on the tyre management one. What I have noticed though, in the race strategy, we really did have to push to complete the 3 laps before we do it, you know, within a second of a delta every lap. This time it was only a couple of attempts, and I think moving it from difficulty 95 to 96 has made a little bit of a difference. However, of course, our car has improved as well. So P11 for us, we're ahead of Sainz, Ocon, Nick De Vries up into P14. Norris was on the hard tyres, but look, we're well ahead of Perez, Grosjean, Raikkonen, a few others as well. And if you look at Russell, for example, he was the second clear of him. Latifi was on the hard tyres. Quite happy with the setup, been fiddling around with it a little bit. I was going to show footage from FP2, I won't, because there's still quite a few practice programs left to do, and I want to fully concentrate on getting them, and I believe that FP3 is still going to be wet as well. So the first time you see some on-track action will be in qualifying. But yeah, for FP1, it's gone quite well. It's difficult, really, as the races will go on this season, and we do little upgrades here and there. We won't really have any noticeable effect. The only way we can really look at it is compare where we were in the practice and qualifying sessions from last season to this season to see the noticeable gains throughout the season. The only way we really will notice something major is if we, let's say, have 2 or 3 ultimate upgrades at the same time going onto the car. That will obviously spike our performance a bit. But little upgrades here and there, it will be gradual improvements moving up the leaderboard. But we're both solidly well within inside the midfield, and we're comfortably ahead of Nick De Vries as well. So we'll move on to FP2, where hopefully I can get the rest of the practice programs done. So at the end of FP2, we've improved to P9 and P10, both of us inside the top 10 by a few tenths. My lap was set on a fresh set of soft tyres. We've managed to do the fuel management and the ERS management programs, both in purple. I've decided to not do the qualifying one because I wanted to see what our overall pace would be like at the end of the session, and it's looking good. It's sort of split up a little bit. There was a few people that were on the mediums. The Renault guys are in 3rd and 6th, Lance Stroll up into 5th place. But me and Nick De Vries separated by about 6 or 7 hundredths of a second, both 1.8 seconds off of Hamilton's fastest time, and a few tenths clear of the rest of the midfield, including Gasly, Perez, and everyone else like that as well. Bottas was on the hards, Norris was on the mediums, Vettel was on the mediums as well, and he was actually 3 seconds slower than Norris, and Latifi as well, also on the mediums. But it looks like we've got good genuine pace here. The lap I did felt pretty nailed on. Before that we were languishing around about 2.3, 2.4 tenths away, which is still good enough to be solidly inside the midfield. So clearly the team is making progress, as we are as well. So I'm not going to be running in FP3, so I'll see you before qualifying. So I didn't run in FP3, and I forgot to record the footage of the resource points that we collected through the practice programs and also our team acclaim. Can't remember the resource points, but we gained, I think, something like 800 in total across both drivers, which is good. And also our team acclaim, because obviously we've got the marketing department at level 1, and obviously I've got driver at level 2 as well. We're gaining quite a lot of acclaim. I think I got 24% acclaim. Then Nick De Vries was just behind. We had like 44% total for the team, so that will, I think, start to be accelerated a little bit, because obviously we're working on other departments to get our acclaim higher. Yeah, we might be level 20 before the end of the season. So in the workstation and before qualifying, you can see they're nice and sunny in both qualifying and the race. Messages, obviously some information here about the circuit, weather forecast. We know it's going to be a little bit cloudy halfway through the race towards the end, but certainly going to be some nice dry running. As for our units then, 23 laps completed we did in FP1 and FP2, 5% then for the ICE, MGUK at 3%, 4, 4, 5 and 3. As for the gearbox, you now move on to the event gearbox. You didn't run in FP3, so it's a brand new gearbox, practice gearbox only at 3%. So I think we still might have to order units at some point in this season. But what I'm planning on doing really is using units number 1 for the entirety of this weekend, and then using units number 1 for practice sessions, and then moving on to units number 2 for qualifying and the race. And so we've always got units sort of sitting around readily available, rather than just smashing through units number 1 and moving on to units number 2 at some point. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. We'll see how that develops. So we'll go to qualifying, and we'll get out on track and see if we can get anywhere near the top 10. It will be difficult. Lap times will start to improve, and I think I've almost peaked. I think there's a bit more time to be found, but yeah, it's going to be difficult to get inside the top 10, but I'm hoping for at least a solid placing in the midfield.
Information time. We've lost oil pressure. Looks like a leak somewhere in the system. We're on standby for the time being until we can patch it up.
Well, that's not good, is it? We've got a lubrication system fault. We've lost oil pressure as the engine, or as the car is just sat here. Of course, the engine is off, but in F1 you don't start an F1 car from cold like you would your normal road car. It's sort of, if you like, in a comatose state with fluids running through it at around about 70 to 80 degrees, something like that, to keep the car warm so it does fire up. And obviously they've noticed an oil leak in there, so it's going to be another minute and a half before we get out on circuit, which is a bit disappointing, but at least we can see some early lap times. Okay, so the fault has been rectified. 15.5 minutes left of the session. Car setup I will show you guys. We're draining the fuel out. So aero, we're going with 6.8. Transmission 55-55. Suspension geometry to the right and the left for camber and toes. Suspension 55-55-45. Plenty of fives in there. Brakes 154, but I usually run tyres as well. 2 clicks out, or 1 click out for the right side tyres. 3 clicks out for the left side. Seems a little balanced, fairly balanced, I should say. Left side still slightly high, maybe a couple of percent per lap. So we haven't got any lap times just yet, but plenty of cars out on circuit. So we'll do the same now. Part thermo regulations, of course, into effect, and this will be the first time that you'll see the car out on circuit with its new livery. You see all the mechanics. Obviously got the white, black, and blue on. So we'll just wait for the chief engineer to allow us out into the pit lane. Indeed he does now. New helmet as well to match the livery somewhat. So we come down into turn 1. So here it is then. I think it looks quite nice, to be honest. Very striking. Back again at the Australian circuit. 3 DRS zones here. The main straight running down into turn 2 and turn 3. 1 deactivation point, which is before turns 14. Got a couple of cars behind me here, so I should move out of the way. And we've got another one as well after the fast left-right chicane in Sector 2 going into Sector 3. I struggle with some of the braking points around here. Certainly this corner we're coming up to now. I've really got to try and nail that if I can. Constantly losing a couple of attempts here. I either brake too early or brake too late. It's literally one or the other. I'm feeling confident that we can put this car solidly inside the midfield. I'll be pretty disappointed if we're back in something like 16th or 7th. Well, not 16th. I mean, anything lower than 17th, I think I'll be a little bit disappointed. I think we've got the beating of our teammate, both the Williams and both the Haas cars. So straight away, that'll be us up into P17 if we manage to do that. Oh, Giovinazzi, you were close to me there. Seem to be losing time in the final couple of corners more than anywhere else. And now turn everything up to the max. Got a Williams just behind me, but I don't particularly care. And here we go then, first lap in qualifying. Yeah, it's just going to be a poor lap. I lost so much time at the hairpin. Yeah, I mean, we're ahead of Latifi, but we're half a second away from Russell. Lost it all, and probably a bit more as well. Left-hand hairpin at the end of the lap. I ran a bit too deep and then got on the power a bit too early and pretty much half-spun the car. Well, not half-spun the car, but certainly lit up the rear tyres enough to get the back to try and overtake the front. So, yeah, Sector 1 was good, to be honest with you. Sector 2 was a little choppy. Sector 3 was a bit of a nightmare. Well, we'll have time to go back to the pits and get out again. So just over 2.5 minutes left of the session. This is the way things stand at the moment. We're down in P21. Not surprised really. Sector 3 was horrendous. But if you look at Nick De Vries up in P17, we was a tenth quicker in Sector 1, a tenth quicker in Sector 2, a second down in Sector 3. So if you find that second, will be a 1.868, which will put us up into P15. Looks like quite a few cars starting to go out onto circuit. So we'll do the same as well. Quite obvious really that the Williams, Haas and Minardi cars are still a bit away from the midfield, although I personally think I'm the best of all 6 of those drivers. So it could be one of those qualifying sessions, could have quite a few qualifying and race sessions where the bottom 3 teams are sort of scrapping amongst themselves. And so hopefully we can get into the midfield a little bit. Just got to nail this lap. Last thing we want to do is be starting on the back row for the first race of the season. So allow Nick De Vries through. Everyone, of course, fuel saving, ERS saving as well. You could probably burn a little bit, to be honest. So you don't need an out lap, because once we cross the line, it'll be the start of the final lap. There's a gap behind. Looks like two of Mercedes and a Ferrari. Well, we might as well keep them behind us because we're not going to be troubling them. So down in P21, not a position I want to be in. If we're getting into 17th, if we do a fairly decent lap, P17 should be on. If we have a brilliant lap, then maybe P16, P15, which I'll take, to be honest. If we can get inside the midfield, then obviously that's progress. But if we're 17th, but clear of everyone behind by quite a few tenths, then I'll still be happy with that as well. Still a long way to go in developing this car to be a midfield runner. So then, here we go. And 1.2 up. You should move up. Where it'll be though, don't know. So it felt like a pretty good lap. Finally managed to sort out sector 3 a little bit. 1.2 up. We're not in the top 14, but Bottas has taken pole. A couple of tenths ahead of Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen and Leclerc inside the top 5. And it's Perez, Kvyat, Stroll, Sainz and Norris. Albon, Ocon, Ricciardo, Gasly and ourselves in P15. I'm happy with that. Just 200ths ahead of Giovinazzi. Magnussen in 17th, Nick De Vries in 18th place, Grosjean in 19th, Russell, Raikkonen down in 21st, Latifi at the back of the field. So we were 3 tenths quicker than our teammate, and we were 1.3 quicker than Latifi. Raikkonen had a poor show there, but we've out-qualified both of the Haas, both the Williams, both the Alfa Romeos, and our teammate as well. We're a couple of tenths away from Gasly. These guys up here are 1.2, 1.3 off. It's going to be difficult to be close to them, but to be 1.8 off and up in P15 is a significant improvement from where we were at the first race of season 1. So the team acclaim, 24% for me, 20 for Nick De Vries, 44 combined for the team. So obviously it's a little bit higher than what it used to be, thanks to the facility department having a nice upgrade. So back at the workstation then before the race, got a message Jeff from the pre-race notes that he usually sends. Have a quick check on the units. Oh, by the way, I've got a new rivalry, Pierre Gasly. So we get 1,700 acclaim if we manage to beat him. He was the best really one to choose. He had Lando, Norris, Ocon and Sainz. I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not too bothered about the rivalry sort of thing. Yeah, if we lose a claim, we lose a claim. We'll certainly be able to pick it back up with team activities and our own overall performances during the course of the season. The rivalry thing, it never really excited me. It used to in the past, I think, on previous games. If you managed to complete your rivalry, then something like you gained a load of resource points or something like that, which is good for the team. But for this, it's your own personal acclaim, which doesn't really affect anything other than your driver perks. It doesn't really matter because you'll always be at this team. So I think the rivalry is just a bit like, it's just a thing to have in there. I don't really care for it too much. So the power units, everything is nice here. Of course, the gearbox 1%. So 2 qualifying laps, we managed to put a 1% onto the car, starting from P15, which would be nice. So we'll go to the race. We'll have a look at the track introduction and the grid formation as well, and have a little look at our race strategy.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. And home to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Perez, Kvyat, Stroll, Sainz and Lando Norris, Albon, Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo and Gasly, Lee, Giovinazzi, Nick de Vries and Roman Grosjean. Russell, Raikkonen, Latifi and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So on the grid then in P15, nice to be this high up at the start of the season. Good. And Australia's not really one of my strongest circuits. I'm okay around here, but we obviously got some stronger circuits on the Canada coming up. Austria being one of them, Mexico as well, Spain, Bahrain, which is going to be the next race after this. So to be 15th on the circuit, what I'm sort of average at, it's a good indication for the rest of the season. So the race strategy, softs onto hards, softs onto mediums isn't a viable strategy according to the team. Something I'm going to do new this season, in a lot of the races you would have seen in season 1, we started with like 2 or 3 laps worth of fuel, and then the inevitable safety car would come out, as it seems to do in almost every race. So from this season onwards, I'm just going to start with 1 extra lap worth of fuel, just to make it a bit lighter and a bit quicker, and obviously the lighter the car as well, the better it is for your tyre wear management as well. It keeps the temperatures down, keeps the wear rates down just a little bit. So if we do get a safety car in this race, and it is possible around Australia, then obviously we can save a lot of fuel and claw some maybe an extra lap of fuel on board. Softs onto hards, that will be the strategy that we will go for. So we'll get the formation lap underway. My rivalry over there, or rival I should say, over there with Gasly just ahead. But again, I'm not too bothered about the rivalry side of things. As we light up the tyres.
Temperature on this lap. We're learning the gears, so go through them all if you can.
Copy that, Jeff. So starting P15, Nick de Vries just back there in 17th. So 15th and 17th is pretty respectable, I think. It's going to be a couple of seasons until we are right up there. Ideally, I'm sort of aiming for maybe the end of this season to have all the departments, if you like, at Spec 2, which is going to be difficult to do because obviously the costings for that go up. Where it will be on the performance, I don't know. Of course, we have to think about later in the season as well if there's going to be any departments that need to be redone, which will halt our development. But it's all for the future. This is now the first round of Season 2. Everyone's reset back to 0 points. Imagine if we win this race, we'll be leading the championship. But chances of that happening are slim. All I'm looking for is to finish this race. Always a bit tricky. Not picking up any damage around here. We're really banging the midfield here, so We are in the danger zone, if you like, in the first couple of corners, turn 1 and 3. Always bottlenecks up. So many cars fighting for the same piece of tarmac. So if we have a good start, at least maintain position, we can knuckle down and focus on the race as it develops. Points? Yeah, I think we need a safety car, or a lot of retirements, or something to happen ahead of us for that to happen. It's all about getting to the end and trying to be as competitive as we can. AI now takes control of our car. We'll be on the outside for turn 1, which isn't too bad because we'll have the inside for the left-hand kink of turn 2. We're going to have to try and reposition our car as best as we can for the heavy braking zone of turn 3. So we're behind to 2 Renaults and the Alpha Tauri. We're ahead of one of the Alfa Romeos and our own teammate as well. Here we go then. Okay, not a bad start up to P13. We'll check for damage though. We're okay. We're all exchanging positions behind me. There was a yellow flag, so someone out there's made contact and picked up a bit of damage.
Well done, mate. Nice start.
Cheers, Jeff. Now the final corner. Here we understeer through here. That's lap 1 completed. Let's try and stick with these guys if we can now. So at the final corner then, start lap 3. Fairly comfortable here
DRS will be enabled
in
this lap.
P13.
Use it when within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Now DRS will be enabled. So it's crucial that we stay with the cars in front of us. So far it's going okay. I'm happy where we are. So just coming across the line in, start lap 5. Pretty much holding station, no one's making any moves, we're sort of just following each other around.
7 seconds.
We go a bit deep there into turn 1, that's not going to help us a little bit. We'll be safe from Ocon behind. Made him look a fool.
Nice work. That brings you up a place.
Now I'm in trouble though. Squeeze Ocon out. Ricardo right off there. They're all being bunched up a little bit because I think Sainz was busy getting past one of the Alpha Tauris ahead of me, so it bunched everyone up. And I wasn't really going to put the move on there, but he sort of left me the space around the outside. So it's P12, getting close to the pit stop now. Tyres are starting to feel a little bit
Be careful.
off,
You're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
as Jeff is now saying. But we're very competitive here.
Okay, we've got plenty of energy. Use the overtake button and have a go.
The other thing is as well, if you look at the back on the mini-map there,
Window, you'll be on the hards.
Nick De Vries is on the back of these guys as Norris locks up the right front under pressure from Albon. So the two Haas, Williams and Raikkonen obviously off the pace here, but it's good to see that Nick De Vries is hanging on to the back of the midfield. So it shows that we've made genuine improvements at the start of this season. Oh, soft tyres really starting to cry a little bit. Won't be long now until the pit stop.
Safety car,
Oh, okay.
No overtaking, reduce your pace. Keep your delta number positive as we form up. A new strategy is available.
Yeah, we're straight onto the hard tyres then. Straight onto the hard tyres. Obvious, easy choice. Everyone is going to be in. So there'll be no... might be some split strategies out there. Some people might think they can go to the end on the mediums. I was going to say, just before this came out, that everyone, Albon, Norris, ourselves, Ocon, Ricciardo behind, you could see that we were really struggling to put the power down. Everyone's sort of sideways, coming out of some of the corners. So we were pretty much in the pit stop window. I don't think we'll gain any positions here in the pit lane, because all the teammates are pretty much evenly spread out. So here we go then. Everyone's in.
Nick is in the pits. Nick in the pits. Go, go, go. You'll be racing on the exit. Complete. Go now.
Well, looks like we gained some positions. It's going to be P10. So we're now up behind the safety car queue in P10. Legit P10. Everyone has stopped. Everyone is on the hard tyres. Nick De Vries wasn't held up too much by us and is in P17 in the queue. You can see that I've now got it to lean mix, already up to 1.3 laps worth of fuel. Remember, we started with 1 lap worth of extra fuel, so which is what I mean. We seem to get quite a lot of safety cars in this career mode, which is fine. It spices things up. Obviously running with a bit less fuel at the start enables us to be a bit more quick and a bit more competitive, saving ERS as well. We'll just wait to see when we go back racing. Everyone is this is pretty much now going to be I wouldn't say follow the leader, but it's going to be a case of maintaining good pace and tyre life as well, because everyone's going to be running on these tyres to the end, including us. Okay, here we go then. Safety car is coming back in. Restarting this race from P10. Crucial to get a good start. Tyres are cold, but they will be for everyone. And here we go.
Green flag.
Fuck off, Albon. There's another yellow flag out there for something. Oh, ho, ho, we nearly binned it ourselves. Someone's retired. Don't particularly care. We're 2 seconds clear of Ocon. I'm up behind Kvyat.
Virtual
Albon.
safety car,
Ah, and the VSC's out.
immediately and keep a positive delta.
So the VSC's out. Straight over back to green flag racing. Trying to put a bit of pressure on Kvyat here if we can. Oh, a bit deep into turn 3 though. Still though, these hard tyres are slowly coming into life. Always takes a couple of laps to get them up to optimal temperature. Just put the pressure on this Alpha Tauri as best as we can. Okay, into lap 16 then. This is the update. Kvyat has slipped away from the cars ahead and he's now no longer getting DRS. We are getting DRS off of him and we're sort of maintaining the gap because of it to Ocon behind. It's been around the 2.2, 2.3 second mark for the last few laps. So So it's all about just trying to close up to Kvyat a little bit more if we can and try to put a bit of pressure on. But we're comfortable in P10 with our pace and our tyres. I'm aiming for P9. It's coming to the final couple of corners here to start lap 20. Kvyat has increased his pace a little bit. It's not as though we're struggling to keep with him, but we've got to push a little bit more. You can see they were pulling away from Ocon. It's now over 3 seconds. So as long as we hang on to the back of Kvyat here, we should be okay. Feeling okay. Tyres are making the car dance around a little bit too much. But as long as we keep pushing and keeping it clean. Running deep into turn 3 again doesn't really help. And we're looking good for at least a P10 here. So into lap 22 then, Kvyat has absolutely gone and caught up to the guys in front, which means we're no longer getting DRS. But we're still maintaining a 3-second gap over Ocon behind, but we have to push with the fuel and the ERS just a little bit more now to try and catch back up if we can. The gap between us and Sainz hasn't changed too much, so I'm hoping that we can push a little bit more and catch up. Hard tyres are starting to cry a little bit, which is to be expected. So we've got to increase our pace a little bit here to make sure this P10 is safe.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Jeff telling me we've got 5 laps of fuel remaining. I've had to use quite a lot of ERS to try and catch back up. It's working a little bit. The gap to Ocon though is still one that I'm really concerned about. And it's still over the 3-second mark. So it could be P10 unless something happens up ahead. Whichever racing point it is at the front of this quartet. Certainly holding everyone up. Still good for P10. Tyres really starting to struggle though out of the low traction zones. 2.5 laps to go. Ocon is now getting a bit of a push on. He's brought that gap down to under 2 seconds. Could have been exciting last couple of laps here. Still got half a lap's worth of fuel extra. ERS is a bit low though. A lot of smoke up ahead. Someone about to blow up potentially. Okay, here we are then. It's the final lap. Ocon is right up behind me. Right behind Kvyat and Sainz. We can still lose a point here. Tyres are pretty crap, not going to lie. Might have to give up fighting the guys in front to focus on what's happening behind me. I'll lose a point now, I'm going to be mortified. Squeeze him out, that should be enough. That should be enough. We'll use the ERS running up to the line because Ocon will have DRS over us. He's too far back. He's too far back. It's P10 in round 1. Nice job. So rather intense last couple of laps there. Obviously one of the racing points started battling. It looked like one of them was about to blow up. There was a lot of smoke, but obviously they both got to the end fine. That allowed Ocon to close up, so we had to forget about Kvyat ahead and focus on Ocon behind. And we did just enough then to hold him off to pick up P10 and 1 championship point. And that wasn't safety car assisted, because when it came out we all pitted at the same time. We got the jump on I think 1 or 2 cars in the pit lane, which happens. People get held up in there. That's just natural when everyone starts to pit at the same time. But that was on pure pace alone, from 15th on the grid to 10th in the race. So very, very happy with the overall weekend. So Bottas wins from pole position and the fastest lap. Perfect race from him. Vettel and Verstappen join him on the podium. Hamilton and Leclerc 4th and 5th. Racing Point back towards the front where they really should be. Perez ahead of Stroll in 6th and 7th. And Sainz, Kvyat and ourselves in P10. We did just enough to hold off Ocon. Gasly was further back with Ricciardo in 13th. Norris, Giovinazzi, Nick De Vries in 16th. Magnussen, Raikkonen, Russell and Latifi at the back. Albon and Grosjean were the 2 retirements. There were some groups forming there. Obviously we was part of one group towards the end as well. This was another group as well, and De Vries was behind Magnussen for quite a while. Obviously he's managed to pass him towards the very end. So P16 for Nick De Vries, P10 for us. As for the standings then, well obviously nothing changes in the Drivers' Championship being round 1. And in the Constructors, you can see there as well. Mercedes have a 10-point lead over Ferrari. Red Bull in 3rd. Racing Point just behind in 1, behind by just 1 point, I should say, in 4th and 14 minutes. McLaren, AlphaTauri, and ourselves have our first point of the season at round 1 in 7th place. So the rivalry breakdown, 3-3 with Gasly. I'm fine with that. It's still very early days, and like I said, I'm not particularly focused on the rivalry, but it's still nice to at least draw him after the first weekend. So the team McLaren, 24% from me, 20% from Nick De Vries, 44% combined for the team. Of course, with the marketing department now at level 1, this will be increased at a decent rate. And finally, the cash. All 3 of the sponsors came in, so an extra $1 million. And a little bit of damage reduction for myself, another 86 on top of that, which takes our money from 9.3 up to 10.45 million. So then, back at the headquarters, just a couple of days before we fly out to Bahrain. Sponsorship renewal with Satellite, so we can renew the sponsor or manage the sponsor. So we might as well manage it. You can see that TriStar as a team achieved 2 points finishes during the season. We've already done 1, so if we manage to finish in the points at one of the next 15 races, which I think is going to happen, to be honest, the gold bonus is quite nice for that as well. So we can get a new sponsor in. Of course, they've all increased their weekly income and gold bonus because of our team affinity. We should probably go for something relatively well, we'll go for something that's got quite a good weekly income. So we'll scroll to the top. That's more important than anything. As a team, oh, this is quite good, wasn't it? Really, Satellite as a team complete a total of 100 laps during the race weekend. If both cars get to the finish, it's pretty much a guarantee. And the gold bonus is quite high as well. Achieve podium finish, achieve and hold first position, score 33 championship points during the race weekend, pole position. No, I think we'll just sign with Satellite. It just makes sense. As a team complete a total of 100 laps during the race weekend. Yeah, the gold bonus is 527. The weekly income is nearly 300 grand as well. So yeah, we will add that sponsor. We might as well. And yeah, pretty good then. So back at the headquarters, we can do some activities maybe. Let's have a look. Nick De Vries, reaction training awareness of +2, so very nice indeed. We can get that on the go. The facilities department, of course, everything is now spec 1, and I'll be looking to spend some money. Well, personnel is actually spec 2. What's it going to take to get to spec 3? Oh my god, a lot of money. What's that? $31 million. That is a lot. Durability side of things, the resource points generation's actually spec 2. I'm not too sure how that's managed to get to spec 2. It would have been because of the activities management, I think. Because we've done that, the resource points generation's a little bit higher for all of these departments. We'll have a look at the maybe get the durability finally done. So 669 million, so we can do that. Powertrain department is going to cost 15 million. Aerodynamic department is going to cost 15 million. Chassis department is going to cost 15 million. The marketing department is going to cost 20 million. Just to get them 2 done. So we have enough then right now to do the durability. Might leave it a race just to see how things go. So R&D, we might as well have a look over here. We've got 2,000 resource points. We really need to think about a department that we're going to focus on this season. The aerodynamic department is only just better than Williams. The powertrain department is plumb last. We've got 2 minor upgrades that we could probably think about doing here. These were coming between Bahrain and China. And there's a bit of a break obviously between Bahrain and China due to having no Hanoi, or Vietnam if you like. So if we get them done and they fail, we should have enough resource points to get them back onto the car. So I think that's what we'll do. So the stators is a revised stator design. Features more coils of wire around its perimeter in order to create a stronger magnetic field, thus creating additional energy from braking. So the 30% failure chance, standard development, 550 resource points. Then you come down here to a reshaped combustion chamber as well. An adjustment to the combustion chamber alters the pressure and temperature inside, allowing for a more fuel efficient combustion process. Again, the 1st of April that will come in. If both of these fail, we'll have plenty of time to get them redone. At a slight cost, of course, before the Chinese Grand Prix. So hopefully that will bump us up a couple of spots. Aerodynamic department, I think we'll leave these until both the powertrain ones are done, and then we'll get 2 of the aerodynamic ones done at least as well. So we've got a couple of things in progress. Hopefully that will put us clear of the Haas team. As for the vehicle power units, everything's still nice and healthy, but we'll be using units number 1 for the free practice sessions at Bahrain, and then moving across to units number 2 for qualifying and the race. As for the gearbox, 4%, so that's fine. As for corporate sponsorship side, we've already sorted out contracts as well. We know that Nick De Vries has still got a while to go until it needs to be redone. 82% he's now worth, or his rating is now, I should say, 82%, which is quite nice. In fact, if we go along to the rating side of things, it should be on here somewhere. Where is he? There he is. I don't know why he hasn't moved up a little bit, or maybe we've got to yeah, I don't know why the rating hasn't put him above everyone else, but it doesn't matter. His claim is level 10. His rating is 82. As for the finances, everything's looking pretty healthy. Finance history, we took a big hit obviously in pre-season, getting a load of facilities up and running. Now starting to make a bit more money. So we'll advance time, get the reaction training done. We'll have a quick look as well to see what effect that has made. So then back to the corporate side of things and the contracts as well. He's still 82, but his awareness is now up to 83. So that's really, really good. If you compare him with, let's say, let's have a look at someone else that's quite young. Well, we'll compare him to, well, I don't know really who to compare him to. Yeah, I'm not too sure really. I mean, if you compare him to, let's say, Lando Norris, for example, there, you can compare the pair of them there. Lando Norris obviously got a lot more experience, having been in Formula 1. His racecraft is a lot better as well. His awareness is down a little bit, so Nick De Vries' awareness is really quite good. There's not many drivers that are better than him, actually. Raikkonen is, obviously he's been in the sport for years. Leclerc is even with him. Vettel's actually a little bit less. Ricciardo's a bit better as well. Bottas, Verstappen and Hamilton obviously would be very, very high. So Nick De Vries' awareness stats, very, very good actually. So yeah, tyre allocation. Obviously this is the one that we'll be running with. There'll be no chance of rain obviously at a place like Bahrain. And now we can advance into round 2, a circuit I very much like and hoping for potentially another top 10 finish. But as for this episode, yep, good. I thought the practice sessions went very well, to be honest. Slightly surprised that we were well inside the midfield. Qualifying was okay, 15th. Obviously the lap times are more competitive in qualifying. It really does show your true pace. Made a good start. Stuck with the midfield. We all pitted at the same time when the safety car came out for the hard tyres, when it was basically part 2 of the race, and it was all about just maintaining position as best as we can. Got a bit hairy towards the end with Ocon behind us, but we did just enough to hold him off for our first point of the season. So I'm overall very, very happy with how things are going. So thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you all for the next one very soon.